My dear sisters and brothers, I want to thank you so much for making the time to listen to me. I thought I would speak to you, especially to the mothers of our country, especially those who believe in prayer, but even those who would like to begin at this time to pray and to believe God. I thought I would talk to you. I know that this is a very difficult time, and it is natural to feel overwhelmed by fear or be scared of this new enemy, the coronavirus. So I was wondering, when many people feel fear, what do you do? Which I believe is happening to not just Ugandans, to the world, because of this new terrible enemy that has come to us. What do you do when you feel that fear? Well, I know that those who know God understand that at a time like that, that's when they run to God. That's when they remember that they are not alone, and they run to God. That's when you pray, and you know that this enemy may be very strong, may really be threatening, but God is even stronger, and that makes you strong. So, I wanted to talk to you, and I thought I would remind women, those of you who remember the times when we were fighting HIV and AIDS in this country, in the late 80s and early 90s. I remember when we started to whistle. I remember when I once visited Masaka in those times during the late 80s. I remember visiting Masaka and finding villages that had literally shut up. They had closed down. Big houses were closed up. And you know, in rural areas, when you find villages silent, it's a scary time. So I remember that time, and parents, you remember that HIV and AIDS used to kill both parents, and in some of those villages, both parents would have died, and children would have been distributed in different homes for the siblings of that particular family to now take care of those children. And it truly was a scary time. So when I was thinking about this new enemy, I remembered that time. What did people do? I remember that women in Uganda mobilized themselves. They supported the grandmothers we found in these homes, some of whom would be hiding because they would think they were cursed, that something terrible was happening to them. And they would be hiding, they wouldn't want to be seen. The grandmothers that would have lost their children, and they had now the little grandchildren holding on to their skirts and feeling lost. But we mobilized ourselves as women of Uganda, and we agreed to support these grandmothers so that they can keep the children and help them to grow. And we started working together to ensure that those grandmothers will find support in their villages so that food can be grown in the land, so that there would be food for those families. So I wanted to mobilize women, and not only women, but even spiritual leaders of our homeland, and to remind them that they should not rest, but that they should continue to pray unceasingly and continue to galvanize people and communities to pray against this enemy. I wanted to ask them not to wait for Sunday every week or wait for the church buildings to open up again, but to remember that we are the church and we can pray wherever we are. God is there. In our homes, God is there. And to continue to strengthen our communities and to strengthen the families, to pray and to stand with our God. To the women of Uganda, I wanted to remind you all that you are the mothers of this nation, and that you are the custodians of these families of our homeland. So in addition to prayer, I wanted to ask you to go further and fast. And fast and pray. But you also have to begin by ensuring that you listen to what the President has been telling you all these days. That you have to be serious about cleanliness, especially cleanliness of your hands. And the Ministry of Health, the Minister of Health has been telling you that every day, to ensure that your families wash their hands now with soap and water. There are the sanitizers that are available on the market. If you can access those, please make sure that you take care not just of yourself, but of your family, of the children at home. If you can't get those sanitizers, just stick to soap and water and all other guidelines that have been given to you. Ensure that you keep the surfaces in your homes cleaned with soap regularly so that the children stay in a clean environment. Ensure that the children stay at home. This is the reason the schools were closed, so that children can be safe at home with their parents. Ensure that the families keep taking some drinks, some liquids regularly to boost their immunity. Provide the nurturing support that only you as a mother and father at home can give to your children. So, going back to what I was saying about prayer, I wanted to ask you to stand together now as mothers of Uganda, to not only pray, but to fast. The Bible tells us about the story of Queen Esther in the book of Esther in the Bible, who, when her people were faced with a life-threatening situation, she mobilized her people to fast for 3 days, and they did, and God rescued them. So let's remember that our country now is at war, and we have a duty as mothers to uphold our country in prayer. The whole purpose of my speaking to you today was to really remind you that we have a duty to uphold our country in prayer. God has not forgotten us. He hears and He listens to His people. He will hear if we call on His name. He gave us a promise in 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14. He said that those who are called by His name, that if they humble themselves and pray and seek His face and repent from their wicked ways, that He will hear from heaven and He'll forgive their sins and He will heal their land. Let's take God at His own word. Let's believe Him. And let us not give God rest until He answers our prayers. Those of you who read the Bible can remember the story of Jacob. Jacob struggled with God. In Genesis 32 verse 24, Jacob wrestled with an angel until daybreak. Then the angel said to Jacob, he said, "Let me go." But Jacob answered and said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." Therefore, we need to know that it will take a willingness to fight, this time, fight on our knees. And with God's help, I have no doubt in my mind that we will win this war. But we will win this war on our knees. So I thought I would say this to you, all you mothers of Uganda and our spiritual leaders in the country, to remember that our God has not changed. He is still God, and He still listens to His people. Let us not give Him rest until He answers our prayer. Thank you, and God bless you.